The advantage of inside sales is when you speak to someone, and especially now, because it used to be 22% of the time, 20% of the time you could get someone on the phone. Now it's down to about % of the time. But when you talk to someone, you get some texture, you get some understanding. And for example, they're either going to say, not interested. Okay, still going to follow up with you. I want to follow up with you in 3 months or 6 months, whatever it is. Or, you know what? We're thinking about it. Can you follow up with me like in 6 months? Some people will say follow up with me in a year. And I got a funny story about that. So it was a buddy of mine in England that had a very successful insurance company. And this financial planner had reached out to him, cold called him. And on a lark, he said, call me back in a year. And to the day, Jeff, this guy, his name is Boise, called my buddy David back exactly 1 year later. And as a business owner, Dave's a very successful business guy. He was just like so impressed that he's like, all right, come on in. And then wound up getting all of his business. I think it was for 30 years or something, 20 years. But it's crazy because most sales reps don't follow up. Most sales reps just make one phone call and then disappear. So the inside-outside sales model, is undeniably the most powerful tool that you can utilize in B2B. The problem is it takes a bunch of money to get started. I was just talking to a fellow who used to work for me who went to work for a $7 billion company, and they had, over the last 7 years, had declining top-line revenue and weren't able to turn that around. So they hired this fella that we coached on the inside-outside sales model, and then he obviously moved on and worked for a number of large companies and was very successful. And he said, man, it's all the same stuff that I learned at Wendover. He said, so he came in, they didn't have an inside sales team. It was a $7 billion company, B2B, no inside sales team. So he went to the chairman and he's like, I need $4.5 million to put together a decent inside sales team. And he hired the best inside sales manager he could find, made some other changes. And it took a while. I think every quarter, he started to turn it around. Every quarter, there was a slight increase and then a larger and larger increase. And then I think this was the second or third year, increased top-line revenue by $750 million. Now, it takes time, but there's nothing in B2B. You know, we talk to thousands of B2B companies every year, thousands. And no one has said, you know what, we publish and pray content. We put content on our website and man, we've doubled, tripled our sales because of that. No, it's none of that. None of that. There's nothing, we make these calls every single day and nobody's like, yeah, no, I'm not interested. You know, I spent this amount of money and like in the first month we got a return. In the second month we got a return. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, it takes a long time to build. Like in this case with this $7 billion company, in the third year, a $750 million increase, which was significant because they were, the top line revenue was declining. And I asked him, I said, could you have done it without the inside sales team as part of your plan? He said, absolutely not. There's no way. It's just impossible. So, and if you talk to folks like Gary Pica from True Methods, he talks about the inside-outside sales model as being Robin Robbins, the same thing. The challenge that I'm sure most of you face is that you've probably tried to hire an inside salesperson and it's failed. And the reason that it failed is because 99.9% of even decent or good inside sales reps cannot self-manage. We were talking about this in the sales meeting this morning, and one of my reps has said, yeah, I used to work at a telemarketing company, which is basically all inside sales. He said the minute the managers would walk out of the office to go outside for a smoke, the way he described it, he said it was total chaos. Total chaos. But inside sales reps, and that's the challenge I think that a lot of you face, is that you don't have a $4.5 million budget to get the best inside sales manager. And here's the problem. 99% of inside sales reps need to be managed all day long. All day long. Let me repeat. 99% of inside sales reps, even good ones, need to be managed all day long. They got to hit their 100 dials, 125 dials a day. If they're not managed every single day, that number is going to decline. And if they realize that you're not monitoring them on a daily basis or on a weekly basis, they just sort of slide off the edge. And the next thing you know, it's 2, 3, 4 months later, and you realize that this inside salesperson isn't doing anything, and you just blew 20, 30, 40 grand, and now you're back to square one again. And listen, it's not your fault.